to the war on plastic and the exaggerated panic about plastic items entering the waste stream that's distracting us from far greater challenges. From November here in New South Wales, the maximum penalty for supplying customers with a plastic spoon or a plastic fork will be a fine of $11,000. That's twice as big as the maximum fine for supplying somebody with cannabis, incidentally. Similar penalties will apply to anyone trafficking in polystyrene food containers, plastic plates, plastic straws, and even plastic-handled cotton buds. On the other hand, you won't be fined for buying one of these objects and sticking it on your roof. On the contrary, you'll be offered a taxpayer-funded incentive of up to $7,000 to do so. And if you want to cover hectare after hectare of farmland with industrial-scale solar energy power like these, the planning department will go out of its way. The irony is that while we agonise over supermarket bags and other flimsy plastic items, there is no conversation about how to dispose of millions of tonnes of photovoltaic cells when they each reach the end of their useful life. In New South Wales, there are 18 mega solar plants already in operation, like this one at Coleambally near Narrandera, owned by the French company Neom. There are 83 more in the pipeline as we race towards the heroic 43% emissions reduction target, which the federal government has now locked into law. As we know, this won't solve the energy crisis we face with the removal of baseload power. Most solar farms produce electricity we can use less than a quarter of the time and make the grid more unstable. We know too that tens of millions of solar panels New South Wales is going to need from China, the Saudi Arabia of photovoltaic cells, and they'll come from one of the most insecure destinations in the world. And we know that they have a life of around 20 years at best before they start to crack up. What then? Well, last year, New South Wales Legislative Councillor Rod Roberts asked Energy Minister Matt Keane how many used solar panels have been recycled in the past 2 years. The written response read, "The Department of Planning, Industry and the Environment does not have data on the number of waste solar panels recycled in New South Wales." Roberts went on to ask, what is happening to decommissioned solar panels that are not being recycled? The response came back, decommissioned solar panels that are not being recycled are currently going into landfill. Mr. Roberts asked, how many solar panels are expected to be decommissioned in the next 12 months? The Minister replied, the University of Technology has estimated that there would be 2,700 tonnes of decommissioned solar panels in New South Wales in 2021 alone. And the way things stand, they're all going to finish up in landfill because the cost of recycling them doesn't make sense. Nor does it make environmental sense for that matter, given the energy needed to recycle them.